really like we don't have like open dialogue about all that stuff, you know. So I think it's better or just been easier for everybody to kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of times, even now, and it's like, if I get mad at them or my family or whatever, especially parents, you know, it's kind of like, you know, yo, like, it's not like you were around or like it was so like rainbows and ice cream and butterflies when I was a kid. So like, why now am I supposed to be like this super great son that calls all the time and visits and blah, blah, blah. And I do want to do those things. And I do love my, you know, parents, you know, and, you know, my mom, you know, she is kind of like my hero. But it's just, you know, I wasn't raised that way.
It wasn't,
We weren't like this, like, oh my God, I'm so, you know, it wasn't like I was nurtured by either one of them. And so.
That's interesting that you just say that. Sorry, I just had an aha because I've been trying to understand why, you know, I'm going through this stuff with my daughter as well, who basically is just a teenager and doesn't really want anything to do with anybody.
Yeah.
But I think about like, why was I grew up, I moved out of my parents' house when I was 16 and then I just like started my life and I never kind of stayed connected to my family.
Yeah.
The way I guess most people assume that you should, you know, the Saturday calls and all of that. I just didn't do that. And I think, what was my resistance to it? I don't think I was resistant to it. I just think it wasn't something that I needed.
Yeah.
And then go back to like what my life was with my parents. Same thing. I didn't have a bad childhood, but they weren't there all the time. They went on vacations for like months at a time. And so it wasn't like we were a close knit.
We're going on vacation.
Yeah. They just left us.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we were super, No, I've got some strange stories, but yeah, my parents left before they got divorced. So let's just do the math here. If it were 13, it was probably at least a year before. They went off on a vacation to like Hong Kong and India for over a month. My older brother was grown up and gone, and he kind of went into a really dark world anyway. So he was never around. So there was me.
Yeah.
Let's just say at the latest I was 12 and I had a 4-year younger brother. So there's 8.
So you're a middle child as well?
Mm-hmm. I know.
Right? What's up?
So they're out of the country and I'm not only taking care of myself and my brother and getting us to school, they had a business that I had to take care of while they were gone as well. So like,
I guess that's paid due now, huh? Maybe.
Wait, what?
You learn how to be business savvy now?
Yeah. I guess it's helped. Maybe? I've been always doing it for as long as I can remember, but it's weird, right? Like you don't leave your kids and just go out of town for a month.
Is that weird? And I think, it's totally weird. And I think it's not funny that, you know, it wasn't like they went to Colorado. They went to fucking, you know, the other side of the world.
I know.
You know, it's just like, we'll be back in a month.
The only supervision we had was I had an uncle who, because I was doing all of the payroll and everything for the business, he had, he was that uncle too. But he would check in once a week and come and pick up all the paychecks that I had to, I did all the paychecks for everybody, and we were in construction. My parents were in construction. So he would take all the checks out to the field. I saw like an adult figure once a week.
Yeah, man.
I did all the groceries. All this.
That's bizarre. I think I learned how to, you know, do laundry and kind of cook and stuff like that just because, you know, if nobody really was there, then it was just, you know, somebody had to do it. And so I think taking upon that myself and just, you know, taking the brunt of things, and because I wasn't really a bad kid, but I was a lot to handle, you know, because it was like, if you didn't keep an eye on me, especially like as a little kid, like I would just get into things and just be around, and maybe I was sassy, or maybe just because I always knew I always had a different point of view, and like, that's not how this should work, you know? And so, you know, and with my stepdad, I would always push it, you know, and test the limits. And with my dad, I was like, just like scared to death of him. So I just didn't really.
Your real dad or your stepdad?
Because it was like two different worlds. Because like my stepdad was pretty wealthy, and he came from like a wealthy family. And so it was kind of like living both lives, you know. My dad lived in the same apartment for so long, like TV dinners and beef stew out of a can over like white bread, you know, kind of garbage eating spam and blah, blah, blah. And then going over here and having all kinds of like fun foods. And, my stepdad was a really good cook, and, I have no ill will towards him now by any means. And we've kind of like, settled that out or whatever, but probably more so than my real dad. But, so it was interesting. And then I think when you get to become a teenager and then you're like, well, this kind of lifestyle seems a little bit better, and people seem to, then go into like this school where, there's other like spoiled rich kids and stuff like that. And not that I was like super spoiled, but at least enough.
Yeah.
And that's what, like, and when we would go visit family down in LA, like everybody, was pretty like Mexican talking, and they're all bonded, cholos and fucking blah, blah, blah. And so we were like the white kids, we're like the white cousins. It was like,
so you're the middle child, and are you the only, what's the age difference, first of all?
My brother is 3 years older than me, and then my sister is 10 years. So yeah, she's my half sister. So
she's 10 years younger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She's from my stepdad.
Yeah. Okay. So are you the only creative one?
No,
maybe out of you and your brother.
No, I mean, my brother, that was his thing. I mean, for him, how he dealt with a lot of the stuff was he would draw a lot, so he would just stay in his room and draw a lot. And he was really good. I mean, he's probably definitely a way better artist than I am. And then, and I think, there were parts that like strive to be as good as him. But yeah, he hasn't really like done anything with it as well. And I don't know, to me, it's always kind of like stuck. And I think just kind of maybe more kind of in my soul, I guess, to be creative and always needing creative outlets or to be creative.
You are super duper creative. And it's funny because, I mean, I guess we've only known each other for, I don't know how long we've known each other. It doesn't seem like.
I'm going to guess it depends on if you count the Mario and John's days of not really talking to each other, but just
talking to each other, but knowing that we exist. There's a bartender there. I don't think he likes me very much.
Having a common understanding. Oh, you want a martini? Perfect. Have fun on your date.
Boring. Well, hey, you have to give me you have to give me props for at least knowing that I was being dorky. At least I wasn't dorky blindly.
No, you're fine. I mean, no, I never really.
I'm immature in the concept.
No, I mean, I think if anything, there'd probably be like curiosity and just be like, okay, because you wouldn't necessarily always like sit at the bar, like you would get your drink. And I mean, unless if you were on a date or with, a friend or something like that, then it just was, you were there. But
yeah,
and then just kind of go off and then just say, oh, okay, cool. So it wasn't like, hey,
I have always had this thing, like we'll talk about you specifically because I went there. I had discovered Mario and John's through some friends, and I don't, I'm always late to the party, so everybody knew about Mario and John's except for me. So I showed up. I'm like, oh, this is a rad place, and I don't feel like I'm going to run into everybody I know, and it felt like a place I could go and just be comfortable sitting by myself if I wanted to.
For sure.
And somehow that ended up the place that I was going on the first dates, but I just. It was so incongruent. Like I really just, every time I go there and you were behind the bar and I'm thinking, I really would just rather sit here and ask questions about cocktails because I know nothing. It was, for me, it was like, this guy seems like he knows what he's doing. He's a little bit moody. Like
facts.
Maybe he doesn't really like me. He probably is like, in my head, I'm like, oh, he probably thinks I'm some whatever. Anyway, it was really me judging myself and thinking he probably sees right through this whole charade of mine. But it was curious. And I would say that out of all of those first dates that I went, the most interesting part of those dates were the first 5 minutes I showed up before they did. And you were standing behind the bar making me a stupid a martini, which I probably learned about a martini literally like 5 days before that you made the first one.
Yeah, which is like the hardest drink in the world to make. I swear.
Anyway, I don't know where I was going. I got off on track on there.
But no,
anyway,
I mean,
your creativity. So what I was going to say is, I feel like, and I could be wrong because I haven't known you very long, but it seems like your outward persona, what I see on Instagram, what I hear on your podcast, which I love, by the way, is a different Danny than I have got, not different, just another version of a Danny that I have gotten to know. Like you and I kind of dive deep in some of our conversations, which I love. And there's always a lot of content about creativity and stuff that you don't necessarily put out there to the world all the time, like your drawing and that type of thing. And it's just a side that is so endearing to me, probably because I resonate a little bit with it, and it makes me feel like I know a little bit.
Like, for sure,
you're one of those people I feel like, oh my God, I'm so intimidated by, because you're so much.
No, I mean,
more in other areas, but
I mean, I can be very outgoing. I can, I've always, I think, loved to, like, if you need me to wild out, then I'll wild out. You know what I mean? But then it's kind of like, once the lights go out, Danny just kind of like is Han Solo and just really keeps, keep to myself. And, yeah, just maybe just because I'm in my head a lot. So, when there are people that just kind of seem like, I don't know, I'm a very energy kind of person. And when I can feel that I can open up and just kind of discuss things. And I mean, yeah, just even, what was it? I guess like a month ago, just being able to ask you if I can come and like chat with you and like pick your brain and, seeing what you've accomplished with this place and like being able to get in, even if that's really fucking hard and you're really stressed, but, still taking the leap to do it. And so, yeah, I don't know. I guess when people want to ask me questions and if they want to know, then I will talk about it.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily sugarcoat it or hide it.
Right.
I don't think everybody's ready for it, or knows how to, how do you take in all that information from somebody else? Yeah. And, I don't know.
How much of that do you think, I was thinking about this yesterday. I was editing an old piece of audio from a podcast that I was on like 3 years ago. And I said something very similar. And it was this idea that there's almost a responsibility, and I'm not sure how much of the burden you should bear as somebody who's telling a story or giving a piece of information. There's how difficult it is or how easy it is for you to tell the story because it means something to you, and how hard it is for somebody to receive. And at what point do you let go of the responsibility that my being able to tell this story, it's not my responsibility how they receive it. So we probably both have some very challenging stories in our life, like very difficult moments in which some people would be like, really? Like you went through that?
I mean, do you think as far as them being understanding or compassionate, or like, would they just kind of like scoff at it and, use it against you, or?
Probably more that. I mean, like I have a story that sometimes I don't tell very often because some people it's just a hard story to hear. It's just a very difficult story for anybody to have to tell and for anybody to have to hear. For me to heal from things or to get past things and learn from them, I'm very vocal, or I write about it, or, I kind of like you, I don't sugarcoat things. I just put it out there. And that is a healing mechanism for me, among other things. Some people will hear a story and they'll be like, that can't even be true. And then you feel, because because you're vulnerable around that story, it comes back and feels like, oh, they don't believe me, or they think this is ridiculous, or that I'm lying, or, a host of other things. I mean, I think, when do I let go of the
I think a lot of that is still just on us, and how, how powerful that story, that emotion, and if everything that is evoked from that story, so because it does leave us vulnerable, then it's so much easier to be like, oh, they don't get it, or blah, 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 and this and that. And I don't know. I think I've gotten better or just over it, like if somebody's going to use it, and, but also being mindful that some people just don't know how to relate, I would always gravitate towards people that are really close with their families and like want to be a part of it. And, like there's like the little kid inside of me that is just like so stoked to be around this family, because it's like, wow, this is amazing. Like you guys love each other so much, and you have like traditions and values, and, and how sweet you are. And you're like, mom and dad, you know, it's like, that's your dad, and you still kiss him on the lips goodbye, and that's so fucking gross to me. Like, I would never, you know, and it's like, and, you know, and then even like